guess the that we're targeting, or the buyer that we're targeting, is somebody from interstate or overseas who doesn't understand the coast or the nuances of the different suburbs and the different markets, who just wants somebody who's got that local network and that knowledge and expertise to take care of the whole process from end to end. So, starting with the search through to, all the due diligence and the valuation and the negotiation and then settlement, and then beyond as well. So making sure that the home is turnkey ready. So whether that's just doing the interiors or the styling or doing a large-scale renovation, that's the service that we provide for our clients. So when they arrive, it's all turnkey, ready to move in. But they don't have to take the whole end-to-end service. So we'll just do the transaction, or we'll just do auction bidding, or we'll just do negotiation. And then the concierge services are separate.
Optional.
Yeah.
I actually reckon if you're local and you're just busy running your business, like that's a good service to just offer even someone local.
Yeah.
Interstate clients ideal, but I could definitely see locals doing that.
Especially in that higher end. I think people
It's all about convenience.
Busy. It's all about convenience, right?
Yeah.
They'd prefer to be in Europe and know that someone's handling their new home for them.
Yeah.
Make sure that's going to look beautiful by the time they get back. That's a pretty phenomenal service to offer. How do you go about people coming from, say, I don't know, Hong Kong, Singapore, whatever it is, justifying areas and types of product to these people? Say, I've got $4 or $5 million to spend. I want to get some on the Gold Coast. It's my holiday home. I'll spend 3-4 months there a year. How do you go about saying, hey, it should be Mermaid Beach and not Main Beach? Like, why? Is it personal?
It's interesting. What I like to do is get to know the buyer personally, and then you can figure out pretty quickly what are the areas that are going to suit you,
Gonna attract them.
And you guys are probably the same. You develop an understanding and a relationship with the client, and you understand what their likes and dislikes are, and you figure out pretty quickly whether what suburbs are going to suit them.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. I reckon we do something similar with buyers, just seeing like what their morning routines are like, after work routines. If you're a big cafe person walking, then Mermaid's definitely suitable.
Yeah.
But if you're a boatie, well then off to Isla Capri you
It can
go.
be hard though. They say, hey, I got $4 million to spend, and they expect the world, and then you show them like a 2-story house in Mermaid Beach that's not necessarily that nice.
Well,
And then you got to justify
bland.
why it is what it is, and then they don't listen to you. I think that's could be infuriating, really.
Yeah. So, you guys obviously sell a lot in the central area. Your key markets are Mermaid Beach, Mermaid Waters, sort of all the way up to
It's most of it. We'll do a bit in Broadbeach Waters. We do a little bit in Burleigh, a little bit in Miami Beach side, but mostly Mermaid Beach, Miami Beach side, and then Mermaid Waters for our team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are the experts in that area, and you sell a lot in that area. What are the sort of transactions that you're seeing at the moment in the market compared to, say, this time last year?
It's very
August last year.
August last year. I think the
tell.
market this time of the year is better than what it was last year, to be fair. I think sentiment's a lot more positive. Interest rates, obviously we've had those hikes that have been going on for a few months, but I think in our market it doesn't necessarily affect the demographic there. Depends if you're the higher end, it doesn't. If you're the lower end, it kind of does. But I think the sentiment this time of the year compared to last year is more positive. Remember last year we had the election going on.
Start of the rises. Is this August now? This is when everything had turned just off the bell curve last year.
I just got back from my holiday. And it was
chaos.
Not positive.
Because we were on holiday. Market turned off by the time you came back.
It was just straight into hard work. Yeah, I remember that. But it was good though. But yeah, I think sentiment now is more positive compared to last year. I think last year there was definitely more stock on because that was probably towards the end of that big rush, that pricing rush that we're seeing.
Yep.
And compared to now, stock is just super tight. This calendar year, in fact, has probably been the tightest in Mermaid that we've seen it. I'd say, and let's call it, 4 years or so. So it's a good thing for prices in the area. It's a frustrating thing for buyers. That's what we're probably seeing now. We're meeting buyers still today that were looking back in January and February.
Yeah.
Because they go through, let's call it 8 to 10 weeks of looking really hard. They get super fatigued, and then they come back into the market now. Whereas that's why I actually think buyers agents are super useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And we save people a lot of time and stress and obviously money as well. So what do you guys like about dealing with buyers agents versus, direct buyers?
I had a few different ones on there, so I was discussing it with Ellie actually. The difference between a normal buyer and a buyer's agent is a normal buyer is extremely emotional in the negotiation. and often they feel the need to negotiate in areas that aren't important because they for some reason feel they have to have a win about something. It's something very, marginal, it's silly, like furniture, or they're being a bond about something, and that can be hard to overcome because it's not logical. Whereas when you're dealing with a buyer's agent, yes, we're both on opposite sides. You want to get it as cheap as possible. We want to get as much as we can, but our job is to actually meet in the middle and get the property sold. So we negotiate in the right areas, if it's around pricing and terms and conditions, as opposed to, some very emotional...
Throwing in the sofa.
Yeah, throwing in the sofa and a bond clean and silly things. So I find that far, far easier to get a resolution.
And I think that's the benefit of buyer's agents, is that we want the best for our client, but we're not emotional. We take that emotion out of the transaction. What do you think, Dan?
I think Connor hit the nail on the head, really. I think that separation, I think when you get into a tough negotiation and these things are happening more in this market compared to, obviously, the COVID market we went through, the buyer and the seller, if they're going one-on-one and we're negotiating it, they can sometimes make up a picture around who that person is negotiating against. And if it gets to a sticky point, then the perfect home might be for them, but because they think the owner is not a nice person because of the negotiation, or same with the buyer won't increase or the seller won't decrease to get the deal across the line.
Yeah.
So having a buyer's agent involved, it can sometimes, or it actually eliminates that unnecessary emotion.
Yeah. And I've seen that before too. It becomes almost like a pissing competition.
Definitely.
And, when we're dealing with two real estate professionals, the person on the sales side, person on the buy side, you take the ego out of it, and that's what I like about dealing with you guys, is that it's a transaction and we're straight with each other, and we get the deal done.
No real estate BS. That's probably actually the one thing we like about dealing with you too, because there's lots of buyers agents out there. Like obviously the market went through this big upswing and buyers agent became super popular. So just like more agents came in, more buyers agents came in. But I feel like most of them out there come in with an ego like it's them versus us, where it can't be. It has to be, let's work together. You want to do the best for your client, so do we. Let's see if we can make it happen.
Yeah,
and if it does, amazing. And if it doesn't, it's just business. Move on.
But the ultimate goal is to actually make it happen.
100%.
Yeah.
So we've dealt with one from Brisbane pretty recently on the beachfront. We're trying to put this thing together. He had a great buyer who was offering great money. It was like $11 million. It was a really, really good deal. That was together. It was verbally agreed. And the buyer's agent was so emotional the whole time.
Right.
Like the way you spoke to him felt like he was walking around with a camera crew, like he was on Lux listings, Everything was this big emotional every time anything happened. We're like, mate, can you just remove the emotion? That's that's for the buyer and the seller. Our job is to get through the nitty-gritty detail here and come to a resolution. Anyways, it finally, after about 6 months of back and forth and we paid lawyer fees and all sorts of things, it didn't come together.
Oh, no.
I know.
That's frustrating.
And if he ever calls me, I won't answer his call ever again.
Yeah.
Not to name any... No, I'm kidding.
What about you? How do you feel about it?
It's interesting. Someone told me very early on in my career, gave me a really good piece of advice, which I still use to this day. In business, you've got to play the ball, not the man. And that's what you just spoke about is a great example of that. Particularly with your football background as well. It makes sense. You've got to, like, the goal is to get the deal done and to do the best deal for your client.
Yeah.
Not have a ego competition with the guy on the other side or the vendor.
Yeah.
Have you had any experiences where that wasn't the case, where you just felt like you were dealing with an agent that you just wouldn't be able to put one together with?
No, I still feel like there is a bit of pushback sometimes from agents when they're dealing with buyers agents. They're still very protective of their patch and their clients, and they are a little bit threatened by buyers agents. Whereas, the sort of up and coming generation of agents understand the power of working with buyers agents, and they love working with buyers agents because, as we said before, between the two parties, we get the deal done. And, they know that we add a lot of value to the transaction. And, a lot of real estate agents tell me they prefer dealing with buyers agents because it's
I was going to say, I actually do. Because you can sell.
It
It sounds convenient when we're trying to tell them the benefits around why that house is the perfect property for them, but it's convenient. But when they come from their trusted advisor, yourself, they they listen and accept it more.
Yeah. Because you're a salesperson, I'm an advocate.
That's it. I'm an advocate too, thank you.
Yeah, but to the buyer, you're the salesperson. Yeah. So
funny.
Just going back to the market at the moment, and what you guys are seeing at the market. We've seen, since the increase in building costs, this huge sort of turn towards properties that are done. People just want properties that are move-in ready, fully done, which is part of the proposition that we provide for our clients. Are you guys seeing better value in properties that are unrenovated for buyers who are prepared to, be exposed to rising building costs or the perceived rising building costs, who'll do work on a house and get better value that way?
I think turnkey is definitely what everyone wants, but turnkey comes with a price tag, and usually that's more than what everyone thinks a home's worth. So I still think there's good value in the renovated, the original homes. Of course, you've got to factor in those things, rising building costs, work and stuff like that. But I think if you're prepared to go through and do the work yourself, and you have a good network, if you don't get connected with someone, then you can add the value you want and save yourself some money. But also too, it depends on what you're doing. I think if you're a buyer that's trying to do a family home, you're going to call it home for the next 5 to 10 years. Rise in building costs and stuff, it's over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, it's not going to mean much. Do you know what I mean?
I guess the other advantage is, if you are prepared to renovate and do some work on a property, you get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
You don't get something that somebody else has done to make a profit. You get exactly.
Well, Sunbright that we sold.
Yep.
So we caught up with, they're good clients of ours, so we see them, every couple of weeks. Popped around, and that was a brand new, probably one of the most beautiful homes we've ever sold.
Oh yeah.
And they've already done some slight renovations to it, just changing little 1% around the house.
Yeah.
What do you?
There wasn't much margin in that one though.
No. They timed it well.
No. Yeah, I think unless you're connected, you're in that building world and you can do it yourself, I wouldn't be taking on big risky projects at that stage. Maybe smaller renovations rather than bigger ones, because yes, you are going to buy well, because I think turnkey product is performing well, hasn't really come back on price. In fact, in some areas probably increased a little bit, but knockdowns and renovators have pulled back, so you're going to buy really well, but build costs haven't pulled back. You got hidden margins, you got materials through the roof, you've got labor through the roof, so what you think you're going to spend, you're going to spend more every single time, even if you are really well connected. So I wouldn't be really risky at this stage unless you're buying perfectly.
Yeah.
Personally, otherwise get connected, get someone else that can look after it that you actually trust. I think that's probably the key. Unless you've got someone you can trust, I wouldn't enter that world myself at the moment.
And I think that's the difference in the offer for our business is that we do offer that renovation service. So once people buy through us, if a property needs to be renovated, we've got a project management resource who can manage a project, big or small. And we've also got that local network, and we've got those connections to get it done. So I'm sort of saying to buyers at the moment, don't be afraid to buy something that needs a bit of work, because you can get great value, and then you actually at the end of the day get exactly what you want in terms of the standard of renovation and some of those inclusions.
Yeah, I think I automatically think of resale when I think of these things. I think a lot of your clients might be looking to do renovations or build for them to move and live in.
Family
Absolutely,
home.
Then it's the perfect world. I just constantly think about resale because I'm a bloody real estate agent.
To be fair, I think
can't
it's
help
probably the best market to be buying renovators now, though. Like if you look at looking at COVID market, when the market was flying, everyone wanted to get a renovator.
My house.
Everyone wanted to do jump on the block. Everyone wanted to do their own renovation. So, and then you just saw the cost of land in original houses is going up. So now that they've come back, I think now's the best time to be snapping up for the long term.
Yeah, and that's why I think there's good value in unrenovated, and that sort of seems to go in cycles on the coast.
Yeah.
Renovators are hugely popular. Nobody wants everything fully done, and then that swings around, and that's sort of where we are at the moment. Everybody's looking for product that is fully completed.
Your service though is a big win, I feel, and it's super unique. You're probably the only buyer's agent on the coast I know that can do that.
Yeah, and obviously I've got an interior design background, so we are well qualified to offer that service. It's not just a fake claim. And you guys have seen some of the projects that we've done, and they're beautiful. I'm really passionate about interiors. I love doing it.
Do you just take all your clients through your house?
Yeah.
Is that the trick? How do I know
the
you're
whiskey
good?
room.
And you say, I'll meet you at the front of my house. You come through my place. We know. Trust me.
Everyone through my house.
Good.
The whiskey room's where it happens, hey?
Yeah.
The whiskey room.
The whiskey room.
That's the room.
Manhattan bar.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the room.
I took Gypsy through the other day. She
Did
was
you?
door knocking, and she goes, "Oh my God, do you live here?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, come through." And I said, "I'll come through," and I showed her. She was like, "Wow." This is a nice house.
Yeah, I think she was well aware. We'd made it known at that stage. It's a beautiful whiskey room, yet we're still whiskey, let's say, Dan.
Yeah, still waiting for the whiskey invite.
Just post-podcast
Get to Manhattan
whiskey.
one day.
Okay, so one other question I wanted to ask you was, so we've just, the market has been softer sort of at the end of last year, beginning of this year, but we've had 5 months of continuous growth over the winter selling season, predominantly driven by fewer listings. What do you, and the interest rates on pause obviously has given a lot of people confidence to jump back in the market. What are you guys predicting for the upcoming spring and summer season, which are the key seasons on the Gold Coast?
I know a lot of our economists, even our Ray White economist, is telling us that there's meant to be a bit more sting left in it, but I just don't think so. I think at this stage, we know what our open homes are like. We know what the people that are like coming through and how bullish they are. I think it'll be relatively even. More supply will come back. I think we're down 38% beachside at the moment from this time last year.
Okay.
Yeah, we start with domain.com and they give us all of our inquiry. So
And the national percentage is about 25%. So
that's right.
So beachside is down a lot more.
A lot.
Beachside turns off. It really turns off. And then when it's on, it's on.
They gave us a stat, so we get anywhere between our business 1,700 inquiries per month or something through our whole business. It was April, it dropped 38%, the actual supply through domain.com.
Wow.
And obviously domain.com's everyone that services Melbourne and Sydney at that stage. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
As far as supply and demand. So I think a lot more supply will come back into the year. There's a lot of people aiming for that spring period, but buyers too. Things start warming up back into the year. So I think it'll be relatively similar to the market we're in now. It'll just keep trickling along. Get good prices. Days on market are a little bit longer than they used to be, but prices are still really good. There's just a little fewer buyers that are willing to pay the premium because that fear of overpaying. And then come January, I actually personally think it's going to turn on again.
Yeah.
I actually think where we are operating, or lucky enough to operate, a little more supply, demand's still going to be really strong. People have acclimatized to the new market and the rate rises and whatever that is. That market's also less affected by it.
Yeah.
And they're jumping back in. So I think January, February, March is going to be really hot, personally.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Think,
do you disagree?
I think the opposite. I think between now and say December, Christmas, I reckon stock levels will pick up a little bit, depending what market. So if we look at Mermaid Beach, for example, beachside, I think that there'll be a few more properties to come to market, and then I think January will start strong. January always sets up the first quarter of the year.
Yeah.
In the whole market, in our business, I think in everyone's businesses. So I think January, you'll see a few more properties come to market, and there'll be a lot more buyers. Obviously, we're a tourism-based city, the Gold Coast. So people are coming up from overseas, Sydney, Melbourne, interstate, and they're looking on holiday. Everyone's sentiment's good.
And now that we've moved past that COVID market, I think we moved back into those traditional markets around, winter a little slower, end of financial years, or is this funny little lull when no one wants to transact. Spring starts warming up, summer back on. Like I think we've moved into all these traditional markets again. So I think easy to get a bit of a read on. That's how it feels anyways at this stage.
Yeah.
I've been wrong before.
Always been good though.
Well, traditionally it's a really strong selling
100%.
season on the coast.
Yeah.
Because of the points you mentioned, everybody's here for holidays, and there is more properties on the market. So from a buyer's agent perspective, I probably am a little bit more bullish on the market. I'm seeing since interest rates went on pause, our inquiry rate has really increased because I think people are more confident where interest rates are, and even if we get one or two more rises, we're almost at the top, and there'll be a bit of a pullback next year, and I think people are saying, okay, now's the time to go to buy. And I also think there's been a lot of people who've been sitting on their hands for a while waiting,
me included, both of us included,
to jump into the market. And I think those people are feeling more confident. They're seeing prices rise. we've had a 5% sort of rise this year, so they don't want it to go up too much more. They are still quite cautious of overpaying. Obviously, they don't want to overpay for a property, but they also don't want to miss out. And I'm seeing a lot of increase in cash buyers as well. People who aren't affected by interest rates, but they've been holding out, waiting for the right time to jump back into the market. But I tell people it's actually the right time to buy is when you find the right property. Don't wait to time the market. Because of the shortage of listings. It's about finding the right property, obviously, at the right price, but you don't have the luxury of waiting and timing the market and then jumping in. It's about finding the right property, and that's where we come in.
You're right, though. It is about timing. A lot of buyers, and like I said before, there's been people that have been looking at the beginning of the year that have just got fatigue, exited the market for a little while, and now they're saying they come back in because they think there's more stock coming on the market. Yep. But timing's a big thing. It's I think a lot of people. What do you think? I think the the interstate buyers have picked up again.
Definitely.
Because if they're looking at making that move, they've got to plan schools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they want to try and transition that move over the Christmas period, so they can either settle before Chrissy or for January, and hit the ground running.
Yeah.
We did that search. So once again, domain.com, they'll give us the actual stats if we ask for them. So we searched our core trade area, $2 million to $10 million, where the inquiry and the purchase was happening. It was close to 40% came out of New South Wales.
Wow.
40 from 2 million to 10 million.
Victoria was only 15 to 20%.
If that.
Yeah.
Which we thought would be much heavier, but it was heavy New South Wales and Brisbane, actually, a lot of Brisbane people.
We've just done a big piece of research with Hotspotting, which is a property analyst data company.
Yeah.
They're probably the best in the country, and they've come up with these numbers that the Gold Coast is the most searched regional market on domain in the country.
Was it Burleigh?
No, the Gold Coast
in general.
In general. So all of the suburbs on the coast. There's such a demand of buyers who want to move here and are looking to buy here. And I think there's two types of buyers who are looking from interstate. There's the people who are looking for a lock-up, and those people are looking now because they want it done by Christmas.
Yeah.
So they have Christmas holidays here.
Yeah.
And then there's the other people who are looking to relocate here, who want to get kids in school, for the end of January. So, they're starting the search now.
It's funny you say that. So, obviously I used to sell in Sydney, used to work in a team, but then we've obviously got our offices down there through the network. And one of our good friends down there in Coogee, he sold a place in Randwick for a decent amount. It's probably between 6 and 7. His client is now looking to relocate to the Gold Coast, wants to try and buy something on the beachfront, just a lock and leave apartment so he can go travel.
Yeah.
Spend 3 to 4 million, and then he'll pocket, get a few investments,
Yeah.
and live his best life.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to do any more winters, summer all year round.
Yeah. So I've got two clients like that at the moment, one from New Zealand, one from Sydney, who are downsizing effectively from Sydney.
Yeah.
Downsizing on price, not on lifestyle, because they're getting better value here, pocketing, $1 million or 2 million, and they can go travelling, they can lock it up, they can, rent it for a couple of months if they want to. And in fact, the deal we just did with, our client in Dolphin, that's exactly what he wants to do. He's moving here from interstate. He wants a lifestyle property that he's also got the flexibility to lock up or to rent it for a couple of months while he goes travelling.
Put some in the bank account.
Yeah, and he's pocketing money.
You did well on that, by the way. We find a lot of people that are looking from Sydney or interstate, they'll initially look at Mermaid Beach, but then get attracted to Burleigh Heads for some reason. Everyone who's watching this, Burleigh's still a great suburb, but I think a lot more people end up relocating back to Mermaid.
I think, the thing with interstate buyers is not a lot of them have heard of Mermaid Beach.
Yeah.
They've heard of Burleigh and they've heard of Broad Beach and they've heard of Main Beach.
Put on the map.
But it is sort of like the local secret.
Yeah.
And because there's not a lot of high rise there, it's single dwellings and small boutique apartment complexes. People from interstate haven't heard of it.
Yeah, you're right. It's a local secret.
It is.
Yeah.
It usually takes a year or two for them to move to Mermaid.
Yeah.
You always find the Burleigh, and then a year or two later they start shopping to Mermaid.
Yeah.
Because he was looking at Burleigh, right? I remember you had that list of 10 properties. I don't know if that was a negotiation tool to use against us or not, but...
How many... Are you finding off-market transactions easy or hard? Obviously, you get access to a lot of off-markets, right? That's the big benefit of a buyer's agent is you get to show them a lot of properties that we can never show them. We can only show them ours. in this market, do you find off-market transactions easier, harder, indifferent?
I'm a bit dubious about off-market properties.
Because?
Typically, it's because a vendor has put a really high price on the property and they've said to the agent, I'll sell at that price, and it's overpriced. Or there is a reason that they'll sell at that price, predominantly because it is overpriced, or there's a reason why they don't want to go to market. Sometimes there is a very specific reason. It might be privacy. They don't want people to know that their property's on the market, so they'll list it quietly. But there is a lot of hype around off markets, and people think that there's bargains to be had. I actually think the bargains to be had are with properties that are listed, or slightly pre-market. Yes, there is a big advantage in viewing properties pre-market, and oftentimes when you sell a house, your first offer is your best offer, and that's where we add value as buyers agencies, getting access to those properties before they come to market. And then also post-market, like the one we did in Dolphin, that went to auction, it got passed in, and then we bought post-auction. So the off-market thing, I think, it's a little bit overhyped. Yes, there are some good opportunities there. I'm not saying that I would never buy off-market. That's certainly not the case. But I don't think it's the be-all and end-all of what buyers agents do. I think there is a lot of value in what we add in finding properties that are on market or pre-listed or even price reduced post-auction.
You've got to do the right thing by your client, obviously.
Absolutely.
So it's not just trying to get first in, first serve, pay a mozza just to buy it.
Just to get it.
You know what I mean?
But also market dependent, right?
Definitely.
When the market was
and
flying,
product dependent. Depends what it is too.
Yeah.
You get early access in a year ago when the market was still red hot. At that stage, you pay the price because in about 3-4 weeks' time, it's going to be worth that, and if not more.
Well, you'd pay
at that
more.
stage, and you get early access, and they don't have this, crazy competition for it. So I think market dependent. But I agree. I was just curious to think because a few buyers agents that hound us for all these off markets, and I'm just thinking the odds of you putting one of these together are very, very slim, right? The sellers are at the peak of their excitement at that stage.
Well, because I think a lot of buyers agents position themselves as we can access the properties that you can't. And I don't think that is the single proposition of buyers agents. I think it's about uncovering the best value, whether that property is pre-market, on-market, post-market, off-market. It's about unlocking value and sourcing and negotiating the best deal for the client. And then, all of the add-on services that we provide to get them into the property, and providing a turnkey solution. I think that's the value. It can't just be, well, I've got relationships with real estate agents who sell me off markets. I don't think that is the single proposition of buyers agents.
I think you can, given your relationship with a few agents out there, you can actually find out what's important for the seller, why they're selling, because price usually is the main driver of it, and it probably is the most important. But there's usually other factors that are behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
That a buyer won't be able to get access to or ask for.
Yeah, and I find that's the most important thing, is asking the right questions, and that's where working with a good agent can really facilitate the sale and make it a lot easier. Because it's about understanding what's the vendor's situation, and what are the terms, the favourable terms that
thereafter
can be added to the deal to get the transaction done. So, the one that I just did in Main Beach, the vendor had bought somewhere else, and they needed to sell quickly, and they needed to access the deposit.
Yeah.
So, in the deal that we did, price wasn't as important as some of those conditions. And in fact, we bought under the price that the second bidder had offered because that bidder needed 60-day terms. So, we actually bought the property at a better price for our buyer than somebody else is willing to pay because of the terms. So it's understanding, what those vendors, what's going to work for the vendor.
That's important.
Yeah.
An agent, if they trust you, know that you're actually trying to put a deal together for the right reasons.
Yeah.
They will give you a lot more information.
Yeah.
I find, the biggest mistake a lot of these buyers make when they're coming from interstate or overseas is they think the real estate agent's the enemy. Time and time again, like they pick up the phone, whatever it is, it's them against us, and they're super, super rude. It's the biggest mistake they make. It's like if these people rude, you're automatically putting the agent offside, and subconsciously he's moving away from you.
Yeah.
Consciously or subconsciously. But I think the trick for those people, if they're not dealing with you, is to be very, very nice to the agents so they make an effort for them. They make that mistake all the time. They don't get it.
Because it's nice doing business with nice people.
Well, yeah, they want to help.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dan, what's your advice for people who might be moving to the Gold Coast or looking to move to the Gold Coast from interstate and overseas? So, Dan, what advice would you give to people who are thinking about moving to the Gold Coast, want to buy property here, but they might be moving from interstate or overseas?
Give Joe Pullos a call first.
Go on.
Of course.
Other than that, no, I think if you're looking, just don't come with an open mind. Really look at where you want to be. I think firstly narrow down what your lifestyle, what you require for your lifestyle is. Like, are you a morning person walking on the beach? Are you more boat people? Do you need to be centrally located? Figure that out first, and come with an understanding that stock is tight, that you're not going to get a deal. A lot of people, I think, get too fixated in reading media and saying the market's crashing. It's not. Some prices are pulling back in some areas, but where we sell, they're not. And if you do find the right one, just buy it.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're an investor, then be more critical. But if it's a lifestyle move, which a lot of interstaters are, it's lifestyle driven, just buy the home that fits your bill.
Yeah. And that's always my advice as well is, I say to buyers, if the home is right and it's the perfect house for you, it's not going to be cheaper in 6 months' time.
No.
And that house is not going to be available in 6 months' time. I can't replace it. And this is one of the big things that I think buyers in the market have been waiting for, this proverbial mortgage cliff, where they think that, all these people who've been on fixed rate mortgages are all of a sudden going to default, property market's going to crash and they're going to get a bargain. Well,
hasn't that been a long story? It's been a 12-month sort of saga, that thing.
Well, how many times do we say the same thing every Saturday?
There's $350 billion worth of fixed rate loans that are coming off in the next couple of months. 31% of those mortgages are paid a year in advance. They're a year ahead of their mortgage payments. 41% are 2 years ahead. And I think it's less than 0.5% are expected to be mortgage stressed borrowers. So that's hardly going to be a cliff, So I think people who have been waiting, I think they're coming in from the sidelines now because they realise that mortgage cliff is a bit of a furphy and it's not going to happen.
I kind of get it though. Like, we're looking at a place at the moment, and it's good putting yourself in the buyer's shoes and just.
You need a buyer's agent?
Yeah, actually, we'll give you a call. Need a turnkey service as well, please.
Use him to go through me.
That's it. Mates rates though, right?
Yeah. I'll sell it to someone else.
Yeah. I heard the agent will discount his commission, so go hard. He might do it for free. But I think, putting yourself in those shoes and just like all those emotions, Danny was thinking about. So it's like I'm in obviously the industry, but Danny's not. She's completely exterior. So seeing her and all those organic emotions come to her mind and what she was saying, one, drove me nuts because she's talking about interest rates and stuff like that. But it's a real thing. But I think you just got to take that, park it to the side and look at the long-term plan. Yeah.
And the reality is that the mortgage cliff is not coming.
No.
It's not going to happen. It's kind of like a media beat up. When you look at the numbers, like, that is not a cliff.
No.
Certainly not in our market.
No.
Well, we're a little bit of a bubble as well. Like, we've got the extra population, the extra growth and that limited supply. But agreed, I don't think there will be in a lot of other places either.
Yeah. And it's been amazing for the Gold Coast to maintain prices, because history has always shown, the Gold Coast has been a boom and bust market.
Yeah.
And, that hasn't happened in this cycle.
Yeah.
And, Sydney and Melbourne has come back, we've seen 25% drops in those markets, sometimes bigger in different areas. But the Gold Coast has maintained prices, which probably is the first time ever in history.
Doesn't that say a lot?
Yeah, but it's, I think that is being driven by the sheer number of people who want to move and are moving to this part of Australia that are, sustaining prices.
I think, like with Ray White, one of the, I wouldn't say he's a mentor, but he's kind of like one of the old heads around the group, and he gives some really good advice. And his advice for wealth creation was, when the market is in a period where it's at right now and everyone's saying don't buy, that's actually the best time to buy.
Absolutely.
And everyone was saying, hey, buy, that's the time to actually, pull the handbrake and actually sell off. And he showed us some case studies around, he was actually really cool to open up his books completely and say, this is what I've done over the last, let's call it 20 years. And his advice worked. So I feel like right now it's a good time to be buying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the old Warren Buffett school of thought. Do
it was Warren, by the way.
Do the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, 100%. Don't follow the crowd, right?
Absolutely.
What do you reckon?
I couldn't agree with you more. You're a genius. That's what I reckon.
Thank you. Tell me more.
No. Off the back of that, I just love that one line where he says, "Don't buy cheap property because it's cheap. Buy a good property as cheap as you can."
Yeah.
100%.
Fortunately, we're in a market where it's pretty much all good property.
That's it.
And they can't really miss. So we might be a little bit naive because our market's one of those markets, which I think would be interesting.
Can I ask you, how do you go? You hear of people saying, like when they're buying investments and stuff like that, if one of your really good clients came to you and said, Joe, I've got X amount to spend, I really want to buy an investment property that's good growth corridor but good yield, where would you look at, one, that you know of, and two, if they gave you an out of area suburb that you don't know of, how would you attack, like breaking all that down to establish value?
So I think...
Not to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I think, I would always, if people are looking for good growth, high yield, I'd always recommend central area and on the coast beachside, because those areas are always going to be sought after. You're always going to get good growth. And people are always going to want to live there, so you'll always rent it. The rent will always increase, and the property prices will always increase. Very well maintained, well managed buildings, I think, that's always a key one if you're buying units. The aspect is super important, for growth and for rental, because people will always want to live in a property that's got good light and warm.
Not dark.
Yeah, you never want to buy south facing. And if I was going to buy for a client who was looking in an area that I didn't really know or operate in, the key there is research and going out to all of the agents and speaking to all the agents in that area, looking at all the data that we have access to, looking at the numbers, looking at the comps, driving the streets. And that's what we do day in, day out, is understand that local market. And you can do it pretty quickly, but it does, it takes a lot of intensity and a lot of time to get familiar with a market. But that's the job of a buyer's agent, is to really know that market inside out and be on the phone all day, every day with agents, trying to understand what they've got for sale, what's been sold, what's coming up, where the value is. So, it's a very intensive process, but that's what we're good at.
Yeah. That's actually a good answer.
Thank you.
I was going to ask, where do you think the best growth corridor at the moment on the Gold Coast is? Obviously, I know you're a local in Mermaid, but if you're taking the bias hat off.
I am a bit biased towards Mermaid, but I think, beachside, anywhere beachside, I think in the next 6 months is going to be poised for growth, because, there has been a shortage of stock. But also, everybody wants to be in that location, particularly coming into summer. And I also think, on the beach front, we've seen some extraordinary pricing on the beachfront, and then the flow-on effect of that is always on the side streets. The prices jump up as well, and then the overflow to the other side of the highway, those prices jump up as well.
Yeah.
So we've seen the front jump up. Next is going to be the side streets. And I think that in the next 6 months, we'll see some phenomenal growth. So if you're buying for short-term growth, I'd definitely buy beachside. But obviously, you never advise anyone to buy for the short-term growth, because that's when people get caught. But definitely beachside.
Mate, thanks for having us on.
No worries. Thank you for coming.
Podcast debut.
Yeah,